Yeah, read great books. Really, man. You've got this 4-year period that has been carved out of your lives by society. It's given you an identity, like a high-quality identity, and freedom at the same time. Man, you're not going to get that again in your life. You've got a respectable identity, university student, and complete freedom associated with that, or as near as you're ever going to get. And you've got these unbelievable libraries that are full of the writings of people who are intelligent and articulate beyond comprehension. And you know, and you can go there and you can learn all this. And you might think, well, why should you learn it? Well, you learn it to get a job, or you learn it to get good grades, or you learn it to get a degree, and that's all nonsense. It's nonsense. The reason that you come to university to be educated is because there's nothing more powerful than someone who is articulate and who can think and speak. It's power, and I mean power of the best sort. It's authority and influence and respectability and competence. And so you come to university to craft your highest skill, and your highest skill is to be found in articulated speech. And if you're a master at formulating your arguments, you win everything. And better than that, when you win everything, everyone around you wins too. Because to transform yourself into, let's consider your transformation into something approximating the logos. It means you shine a light on the whole world. Well, there's nothing more exciting to do than that. There's nothing better you can possibly do. And to think that you're coming to university to be, you know, trained to have a job, it's like, great, that's a hell of a lot better than being unemployed and covered with Cheeto dust while you're snacking away in front of your video game in the basement. You're spectacular. You're all capable of being world beaters. You transform yourself into something that's articulated and sensible and grounded in history and knowledgeable and wise, man. You can do anything you want, and hopefully anything you want for good. Because if you have any sense, everything you want to do would be for the good, because there's nothing more compelling or meaningful or useful in combating the tragedy of life than to struggle with all your soul on behalf of the good. And the universities have forgotten that. It's why everyone's bailing out of the humanities, and they should. The humanities are corrupt. And they're corrupt because they're not telling students this. It's so bloody obvious. It's like, learn to think, learn to speak, learn to read. It makes you a superpower, an individual superpower. You have and I don't understand why that isn't just told to students. It's not that hard to understand, and everyone wants to hear it. It's like, really? I could do that? I could do that? It's like, yeah, really, you could do that. And the whole society around you has labored for really thousands of years to provide every single one of you with this spectacular opportunity that you have while you're undergraduates and graduate students here, man. Everyone's just praying that you would come here and manifest everything that you could manifest. And that's what you should be doing, instead of waving placards and complaining about how you're oppressed, for God's sake. The only reason you're not rich is because you're young. You know, that's the best. Really, if you look at the 1% even, the dreaded 1%, you know, most of those people are old. Why? Well, when you progress through life, if you're reasonably successful, you trade in your promising youth for your wealthy old age, but you're still bloody old. Would you trade it? Would you trade your youth for that? Like, if you factor age out of the economic equation, things look a lot different. Well, of course older people have more money. If they have any sense, they've been collecting it for their whole life. Is that somehow unfair? It's not unfair unless you want to be poverty-stricken when you're 70. And you don't want to be poverty-stricken when you're 70. So I just don't understand what's happened to the universities. I can't believe that you're not told when you come the first day, look, man, you're here on a heroic mission. You're going to take your capacity to articulate yourself to levels that are undreamed of. You're going to come out of here unstoppable. You're going to be able to do anything you want. It's like, that's what you're here for. Instead, you're taught that, well, you know, the world's a pretty oppressive place, and you're probably the bottom of the victim pile, and there's virtually nothing you can do about it except, you know, deconstruct the patriarchy. And it's so weak-kneed and so pathetic that universities should be embarrassed that that's what they're peddling to students. I'm embarrassed by it.
When an idiot says that the earth is flat, he's an idiot. Because he's saying the earth is flat, and that's
from his opinion, though.
His opinion is idiotic, Brendan.
When it comes to the earth, I'm not defending him.
But why you are defending him?
I'm not.
Don't put him on the same level. Let me talk. This is very important.
That's all you've been doing.
Let me talk. No, you've been talking the whole podcast. Let me talk.
Why are you so upset?
Because,
Why are you so defensive?
Because I'm tired of this bullshit. I'm tired of this.
You don't do this
Jones.
with Eddie Bravo.
I'm tired of this because because it would get ugly. I am tired of this Alex Jones stuff. I am tired of, I was thinking about this at 50 years old. I'm tired of, I'm not going to try to be liked anymore because I think there's such ignorance in the world, starting with Donald Trump, who's calling all the news fake, I'm not a fan of a lot of the media, but I am so sick and tired of all these people with all their misinformed points of view, where they are just completely bucking eons of history and knowledge that's been earned. There is scientific knowledge like vaccines, antibiotics, like the earth being round. These things have been earned over hundreds of years. And by the way, we all benefit every single day from science that has been earned, that has been experimented on, that has been proved. For example, the science that goes into your phone, the science that goes into giving you fresh vegetables and food in the wintertime, the science that gives you life-saving drugs, whether you have Hodgkin's lymphoma or you have an infection. These are the things that we benefit from every single day. They are empirically proven, meaning that they are measured from independent lines of inquiry. And all of a sudden with the internet, you have these cuckoo birds who come out and start talking about the earth being flat. They start coming out and talking about how there are these giant rings of globalist pedophiles who are controlling the strings, and this virtuous guy named Donald Trump is coming along and saving the day. When you have the benefit of spending a lot of time being educated and seeing and understanding how patterns emerge and studying history and seeing how bad ideas come about and kill people. That's what happens. People die when the wrong ideas win the day. That's really what happens. And people get hurt. And when you stop vaccinating your children blanketly, because you don't trust anything about the pharmaceutical companies, and you don't know how they're evil, you don't know how to distinguish between how they are evil, why they're evil, but you just blanket them and say they're all liars, the way Eddie Bravo does. What happens is you get kids who don't get vaccinated. You get kids who start getting measles. My child, who doesn't develop herd immunity because the vaccine doesn't take, can get measles. It just goes on and on. And when bad ideas win the day, it is destructive. It is dangerous. That's why I get passionate. That's why I get mad when anybody says that Kyrie Irving has a point when he says the earth is flat. Can a cynic explain to me why when I hear a piece of music, I start crying because it's so beautiful? Can you explain mathematically how that goes? I'm not interested. All I know is I start crying because it's beautiful.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that cannot be explained.
And you know what it does?
Logically.
It inspires me.
Yeah.
I hear like a beautiful piece of music. You know why I got into stand-up? I remember when I got into stand-up after I heard your album and that Voodoo Punani song and all that stuff. And I went home that day. See, you don't know this. I never told you this. I'm glad I'm talking about this. Because I listened to your album and I had to leave early. I got out of there and you couldn't understand. You got mad at me. You called me up and you go, you just left without saying bye? You just took off? You know why I took off? I couldn't handle being around you because I was so not only inspired, but I went, my friend's doing something really special here. And I know I have something in me and I'm not living up to it. And being around him is reminding me of the fact that I'm not living my fucking life. And I remember you called me and you were mad and I made up some excuse. I started telling you like some excuse. And then I went, dude, I got to be honest with you. You fucked me up a little bit. I said that song and your jokes were so awe-inspiring to me. And I went home and I started writing. And so that's what happened to me. That was a huge catalyst for me. I went home and started writing because after I heard that song and after I heard those fucking jokes you were coming to, those goddamn this was I don't know how many years ago.
99.
They were so fucking well formed. You were such a tidal wave. It was like an example for the first time where I saw an artist just peak, come together, and just put out the power you were putting out was so retarded that it was changing the whole fucking room. People were like, what the fuck? This guy's writing songs, he's doing. And I remember going, I gotta taste some of that. I gotta have some of that. I gotta get the fuck out of here.
I get that still.
That's what you need, man.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that in your life, you gotta find it.
Yep.
Either surround yourself with friends who do it, go to TED.com,
yeah.
do whatever you have to do, man. Find it.
Yep.
It's out there. And the beautiful thing about the technology, and this is for the young people, is that you can spend your time listening to music and reading about what Lady Gaga wore to the gym, or you can fucking open your mind to a whole world out there that is going to bite you in the ass if you're not ready for it anyway. So start opening your mind and start reading.
And it's important to not give in to jealousy. When you see someone doing something that you're not doing and you feel like, fuck, I'm not doing, there's an instinct to protect yourself by bullshitting yourself and becoming jealous and bitter and talking shit about that person. And that's where haters come from. What haters are, 100% of all haters in the world are unrealized potential. It's 100%.
Exactly.
I'm not a hater. I'm a pretty nice easygoing guy. It's because I'm successful. But when, like, Michael Jordan's not a hater, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, like, when you get to a guy at that level, they're not haters. The real haters are
There's no time to hate.
They see someone doing well and it bothers them. To a person like a Michael Jordan or a winner, they see someone doing well and it inspires them to take it up another notch.
I've always tried to look at things like that. When you see something great, and if it's a friend of yours or something, you have to use it as inspiration. It's supposed to inspire you. And haters and that notion is what that is it's a skewed perspective. I think what happens is a lot of times they say, well, you know what, there is scarcity in the world, so there's only a certain size of the pie, and if you're doing this, you've taken up all the pie and there's no room for me. Not true, man.
Not at all.
There is no scarcity.
It's a terrible way of thinking,
if you open yourself up to something beautiful and great and let that work through you and really be affected, be astonished by it, be scared by it, be brought to your knees by it, whatever it takes, you will find way more strength in that surrender to the beautiful than you will when you close yourself off. And all of us, man, had this notion to go, I'm closing myself off. Fuck this.
Everybody wants to win the lottery, but the lottery will fucking ruin you. You have to earn the whole thing. In order to be a real man or a real woman, you have to earn the whole thing. And the crazy thing is, to be the man, to get to that point, to be the man, you literally have to not ever be possibly the man, because you have to get to this Zen state where there is no the man. No. It's all about the work. It's all about what genius you're putting out is all about, whether it's music or whether it's writing or whatever the fuck it is. It's all about finding that real pure place. So there is never the man. That's when the muse kicks in. The idea of this all comes from somewhere else. It's like, maybe it is just an attitude that allows you to bypass the ego. I mean, that I could not exist in a regular job. I didn't have it, whatever it was.
Yeah, it's a thing. When you know you don't have it, it's kind of scary. Like, oh no, I'm not going to have a straight life. Oh no, what am I going to do?
It was like it was radioactive. Like, I would take construction jobs and it was like I was being poisoned.
Yeah.
You know, it was like literally like I was getting radiation.
Yeah, you feel like you're dying.
Yeah.
You're young and you're awake and you're like, I'm dying. This is killing me. I thought I was going to have a life of those jobs. So I went out of high school. I went one semester at American University in Washington, D.C., trying to see if I liked college. I liked learning. I just didn't like, I hated school. So another 4 years on a student loan, like one semester, it took me so many years to earn my way out of that debt. And so I just kind of went into the working world going, this is going to be rough. I mean, this is going to hurt. It's going to be swollen feet and a lot of top ramen noodles and no sleep in my crap apartment, but this is my life. And I felt like someone was strangling me because I just knew, I didn't know where I was going to go or what I should be doing, but I knew that this wasn't it.
Yeah.
Like this was going to kill me.
Well, I think there's a lot of people out there like that, and for some awful reason, they never find whatever it is that can break them free. They never catch a ride on that river out.
Yeah.
And I got lucky. I found stand-up comedy, and I had already, I think a lot of it had come from martial arts too. I'd fought a lot and I'd competed a lot in martial arts tournaments, and I think that from that I realized that like these unconventional paths, they brought me something that I wasn't getting from regular life. It brought me self-esteem. It gave me this feeling that I wasn't a loser. It was the only thing that I'd ever done my whole life where I've said, wow, maybe I'm not a loser.
Right.
Like I kind of thought I was an outcast and a loser, and then all of a sudden I was successful at something only because I was obsessed with it. But then I knew there was no way I was ever going to be able to hold a regular job, and then I got lucky when I was 21 and I found stand-up. And so from then on, I'd kind of like locked into this thing where I'm just going to do what I like and fuck what everybody says, because everybody's giving me advice to do this and advice to do that, and it never seems to be what I want to do.
And their advice is coming from a different world. You know, and they mean well, but they're coming from the whole other value system and a whole other expectation of their own lives and what your life should be and all of that. And all of it is... It's not poison, but it's just kind of anathema to every breath you're taking, and it's ultimately useless. Because and they're always going to tote that line. That's what they've got. Like, you've got what you've got. So when you say, here's how I do it, they're like, you're crazy, man. And then you look at them in that job and you're like, you're the crazy one amongst us, because I couldn't handle wearing that tie every day and taking it from that dude.
Yeah, and some people, I guess, like the corporate world. I got lucky and I found a bunch of shit that I like. And if you had said to me, you know, if you asked me if I was, you know, outside of my life, and if I didn't know that I existed, and you said, do you think it's possible to be a cage fighting commentator / stand-up comedian? I'd be like, no.
Right.
I mean, they don't go together.
There's a bravery that one takes when one embraces the straight world that I simply don't have. There's a level of guts where you're like, well, I don't really like this job, but I love my family. I'm going to do the right thing. I don't have a family, so I'm not tethered to that value. I admire it, and if I was a dad, I'd be standing up. But there's a kind of guts where you just get on that bus every day and go like, damn, man, I don't like this job. And you grimly hold onto your sack lunch and you just go do it. I think like my mom and my dad, I don't know them that well, but they were very hardworking people, and I'm not sure how much they ever really loved their jobs. Like, I can't wait to go to the office. They just kind of went, I'm an adult and this is what you do. And they just kind of put themselves through that grinder and turn the handle themselves. Yeah. You know, and they just, and I think a lot of people all over the world, they just kind of grimly set their jaw and go, I'm an adult. And they go out into it. And you look at a guy like Iggy Pop, you know, who could never have a straight job. It would just be, you know, the thing would fall over. Right. Because he's an artist. He's the real thing. And it's innovation, but it's an intolerance, and it's, for me, just a lack of courage to toe that line. I'm like, man, I just don't have it. I don't have the stamina to go into that building every day for 28 years. Like, my dad went to one building for his whole life, was one corporation he worked for. Wow. And then he stopped. I don't even know if he's alive or dead, but he was that guy in that building every damn day, like hours and hours.
There is a dance that when you discuss these things, like, you don't want to disparage anybody that genuinely has shown courage in grinding it out
because
for their family.
It does take courage. Yeah. I just don't have it. I'm saying I consider them people in the real world, and in my life, I don't think I really live in the real world that much. I live in my self-invented Henry world. Right. And I saw this video with Lady Gaga. I don't know much about her music, but she did this long intro, the $80 million thing, and she goes like, reality, I hate reality. I was like, there you go. I just can't handle a lot of it. And I don't shy away from it. I go into situations that are hyper real. But that kind of flatline existence that a lot of we adults engage in, I think that would have destroyed me. I would have found alcohol or something really destructive.
Yeah, it's a droning, resonating existence. It's bomb.
Yeah, and some people go, hey, suck it up. Yeah. And you'll get in there, and it's not that bad. Cheer up. And it is not that bad. I just don't want it.
So I have one more thing, one more exercise that your students, that your viewers can try. And this is, I think, one of the most useful psychological exercises that anyone can ever do. So start with the assumption that many of the things that you say and think aren't yours, and that you don't believe them. They're just things that you've picked up for one reason or another as you've walked through life, and you brandish them like like markers of your status, but they're not really you, because what's really you is hard to figure out. So you have to start from that assumption. Then start listening to what you say and feeling what you say as well. And here's the rule. It's a very simple thing to try. Pay attention to whether what you're saying makes you feel stronger or weaker. If it makes you feel stronger, then you can keep saying it. But if it makes you feel weaker, then you should stop saying it. Stop saying it right away. And see if you can reformulate your words so that when you restate them, that feeling of integrity and strength reappears. And you can feel it really down the middle of your body. And because what happens if you're saying something that is untrue is that you dissociate to some degree, because part of you agrees with it and part of you doesn't. It's like you're splitting your psyche.
Like a cognitive dissonance.
It's cognitive, yes, it's very much like cognitive dissonance. And so, but if you pay very close attention to what you say, you can feel yourself coming into alignment if you get the words right. And then when you're in alignment like that, you're centered in your being. And the thing about being centered in your being is that if you're centered in your being, you can withstand suffering without becoming corrupted. And that's what people want when people say they want a meaningful life. That's what they mean. They mean, I want to be somewhere where I can stand powerfully and withstand the onslaught of life with its deaths and its tragedies and all of the things that are associated with it. And you can learn to speak from the bottom of your soul. And if you do that, there's nothing better than that.